look at your business model and say, hey, it isn't just, selling products on Main Street anymore. There's so many other opportunities. In fact, I just read about an app called Curbside that is big in San Francisco right now, but basically it's tied to local stores. And if you you partner with them and you have your customer say, hey, I saw this online and I like it and I want to get it, and I place the order and I pick up. And I don't know if you've been to TGIF Fridays, but they actually have parking spaces there for the curbside pickup, and that's what you do. And then the service comes out, here's your bag. And it's just amazing some of the different tools that technology is enabling. That is e-commerce. I mean, basically, you really want to be in as many places as you can, and connecting with a customer who's always around, it seems like 24/7. So you really want to connect with them where they want to be served. So that's some of the things that you're going to hear about today. We are so fortunate that we have over 20 speakers, so you're going to get a lot of content. You're going to hear some hot topics, and you're going to hear from some of the biggest brands. We have eBay coming, we have UPS, we have Zippo, one of the largest, oldest brands that have been around for so long. We're so fortunate to have them in Pennsylvania, and it's a brand that's near and dear to our heart, and Kathy will be sharing some of that. And I also want to let everybody know, it just kind of turned out this way, but we have all Pennsylvania-based businesses speaking today. They're all based here in Pennsylvania, from eBay to ListTrack. All these companies have grown their businesses pretty much in Pennsylvania. So the irony of that, I think, is actually I tried to make it deliberate, but it wasn't actually one of my missions. It just turned out that way. So again, I want to thank all the speakers. You took time and focus out of your everyday business to come and share. Just think about that. I know some of you were working very late in the night on your presentations, and I know how that feels. But so they're giving you some information, and I hope that you write down your information and ask questions. I want to thank our sponsors today. They're the ones that support this event. They're very serious about business, and they feel that business is where they're invested, so they try to help sponsor these types of events, and it keeps the price very affordable, and we can thank them for that. Now I really want to have an opportunity to kind of just give a little bit of a background of UPS. They've been our sponsor for the last 2 years, and we are so thankful for them because obviously shipping and logistics is critical to everything you do in e-commerce. I mean, you have to move the product around, and you have to get it to the customer. And they are very focused on that customer experience. And so they partner with ComScore to have a study done to really keep their finger on the pulse of the online shopper. So Don Mueser, who is the general sales manager from the Pittsburgh office, right? You're the regional, is going to share some highlights from that study that I think will help sort of set the tone for today, and kind of give everybody a feeling of where things are and how the customer feels about online shopping. It is still the fastest growing channel, and it just continues to grow. And every brick and mortar business is now looking at how they can integrate e-commerce into their business models. So thank you, and Don, I'm going to get you set up in here.
Hey, good morning, everyone. How are you? All right, we can't be serious. It's Thursday, right? Got a couple of days, got a holiday coming up. Everyone all right? Some familiar faces in the audience. Good to see people. Hey, before I get started, real quick, this past week I had a chance to hear Ari Weinswick speak. Anybody know who Ari Weinswick is? Almost saw a hand. It scared me there. How about Zimmerman's in Ann Arbor, Michigan? Anyone ever heard of Zimmerman's business model in Ann Arbor, Michigan? Ever feel like you're on an island and nobody knows what you're talking about? So anyway, long story short, this guy is pretty dynamic young man, right? So I get a chance to meet him. He's opened a delicatessen in Ann Arbor back in '82. So he's a pretty exciting guy. He's living his dream, right? He's traveling around the world. He's got an online store. He's got a creamery, nothing like the one up at State College, of course, but they have one there. And it's this multifaceted business. But part of what they do is this Zen Train, it's called. So they go out and train corporations on, the better business model, how to treat your employees, those types of things. So one of the things he talked about, these 12 natural laws of business, was number one was vision. So he had us all sit down and write a vision out on what we thought of any specific topic. So of course, knowing this was coming up, I picked this topic and I'm thinking to myself, all right, so he said, write it as if you're watching it happen in the present tense. So in business, you would write a 10-year plan that says, 10 years from now, like I envision my business looking like this, and people are coming and collecting, and it's organic, and it's all these different things that are happening in business, right? So, of course, I'm writing about this particular talk, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I'm going to ask the people in the audience if they ever heard of this, and they're going to respond overwhelmingly, and somehow the vision isn't as clear today as it was when I was actually writing it. So we're quickly jumping off of that into the topic at hand. Kathy mentioned that we partner up with ComScore, which is the pulse of the online shopper. We go out and survey and ask people what's relevant in the world of e-commerce, what's happening. So today we're going to cover a little bit about flex shopping. Specifically, there's 4 real pivotal points with the whole flex shopping piece, and we're going to get into all 4 of these in pretty good detail. They're not independent of one another. They all kind of mix from one to the other. It's kind of critical, but we're going to go through them one by one. So, and honestly, if you have some questions in the middle, this is going to be better if it's interactive than if it's just me up here talking to you nonstop. So, went too fast. So we'll talk a little bit about the convenience piece. So convenience dominates what's taking place in from a consumer feedback standpoint. They're telling us that comprehensive information is important when it comes to all this stuff. The fulfillment times with businesses getting product to the consumers is better than it's ever been. The people that are doing the fulfillment are doing a good job of ultimately getting product to the consumer in a timely fashion. And the consumers, because of the impact on brick and mortar, are making a more compelling story to get people back into their stores so they can actually see. So at the bottom of the screen, hopefully y'all can see that pretty well. Part of the area I cover is Virginia and West Virginia, so every once in a while you got to throw a y'all in there so that you keep everybody level set. But in there it says that 55% of people prefer to buy things online, even if they go to the store and shop for it first. They may do it in the store, and we'll talk about that a little bit. And 50% of customers that buy things online at some point in time will actually have it shipped to a store because it's more convenient. So people always ask you, should you have a brick and mortar as well as an e-business? And in a lot of cases, if you're larger in scope, the answer to that question is an emphatic yes. So when we're still talking about convenience, the first 3 things on the line item there talk about returns. And it's interesting because you're going to hear that consistently throughout this portion of the morning, because the return piece continues to be something that drives the consumer. So it's interesting. I always look for reactions in the room when that's going on, because people are sitting there saying, I just want to sell people stuff, like I'm not worried about it getting back, but when people are buying, it's really a big part of it. So The 1 in 4 prefer to have things go beyond their home address. They're using alternate deliveries, whether that's a place like a UPS store or a local, in a major city, those retail stores that are on every corner, like in New York City, as an example. People are using those alternate addresses 1 out of 4 times because it's more convenient for them to get them there than for them not to be there when they get back home from work in the evening. So, and it's interesting, the timely delivery piece, because the fulfillment houses are better, it's less important than it's ever been in the past. So, still staying on the convenience theme, and what we're talking about here is that 25% of the people do research before they go shop. So people want to know what they're going to go look for before they go out. They do it on their tablets, they're doing it on their mobile devices, and 22% of people do their research while they're shopping. You're walking through, I see some heads nodding, people are doing this. My wife has a smartphone. When she walks into stores, we're walking around, she's shopping on her phone while we're walking around the store. It's kind of interesting. So, and the last piece is interesting, and the reason why it's interesting is that because of the ability for people to shop on tablets and on their phones, it's happening with greater regularity. And 55% or 51% of those folks are using tablets to buy things, and 41% of them are using smartphones. So I found that to be interesting. I thought that number would have been reversed. Anybody see anything different there, or we talk about that for a minute? Or are we good? Not enough coffee? General content? No. So we covered convenience, and we'll talk about the need for comprehensive information. So it's absolutely essential. Information is central in the decision-making process. So investments in photography is key, and it carries almost as much weight as anything else about the product itself, because the eye will buy. It's an old expression. If they see it and they like it, they're going to want to go out and buy it. So it's never going to take place of a really good person on the other end of the phone. But if people aren't calling you, this needs to represent your brand. It needs to represent your product. It's just absolutely the most important piece. Okay? So we'll talk a little bit about some of this comprehensive information. So it says 41% of mobile users prefer to use a computer to buy their product. They'll research it to death on their smartphones, but they want to be able to see the content a little bit more. They want to be able to know what your return policy is. They want to know some of the particulars about, is there a restocking fee? So some of those reasons why, as you're working your way across the bottom of the screen there, that's what's going on. That comprehensive information, having that stuff readily available on your sites, that's what our survey is telling us. They're saying that this is important only because if you're not providing this level of detail for your customers, the chances are, or clients or prospects, chances are people are moving past you and on to the next site. Okay, we good? Staying with this comprehensive theme, it's interesting, that very first one, it's talking about the description, and the information itself is just as important as the product itself. So product information finished second to product selection. So I always think of Seinfeld, right? Elaine worked for Peterman, wasn't it? Peterman's the name of the business, and she wrote all those crazy descriptions of all this stuff that this person had for sale. And so it's for whatever reason, when I was preparing for this, I'm thinking about Elaine. So it definitely jumped into my head. And there's lots in there, and we'll just try to keep it all contained for the next couple of minutes. So, yeah, absolutely. So the next two, it talks again about returns, and customers when they're making those purchases, they want to know about returns, exchanges. If they buy something, how easy or how convenient it is. How many people shopped at Zappos before? Absolutely, right? They've got one of these models that people shake their heads about. It's like, every time I get a package, there's a return service label in there. I buy the 8, 8.5, and the 9. I try all 3 of them on. I put the 2 I don't want back in, and I ship it back. And it works for them. They're selling that. They're selling the 9 and the 8 on its way back, because our system's telling them when it's going to arrive. So that if it's out of stock, they're putting it right back in line because they just happen to be a customer of ours. So this isn't a commercial for UPS or anything, but it's true. I mean, the information's so impactful, but it allows people in this room. When I said Zappos, everybody's hand went up, right? Everyone made those decisions. Like, my wife shops at Zappos, and if the pants don't fit, they're going back, and there's no charge, there's no restocking fee. It's pretty awesome. So that middle two piece talks about the returns. Again, we talked about that. We mentioned customer satisfaction is at 53% there. And then finally, people said that online chat is something that they use. Personally, I find it challenging because I always think it's a computer talking to me on the other side, and it's a bunch of guys sitting around like on Big Bang Theory laughing at the words that are coming back because I don't know what I'm talking about, but that's what it is. So we talked about convenience. We talked about the comprehensive information. We'll talk a little bit about the technology adoption piece. So lots up here, but it's interesting because it says that the price comparison engines are really powerful. So much so that Amazon on its own has become its own search engine. It's number 2 to Google currently, with people shopping. And actually, I'm going to go shop for something. They go to Amazon second most often to put a product information in to find something. So pretty powerful stuff. But people are shopping from all their devices. They're shopping from their desktops, their laptops. They're shopping from their smartphones, and they're shopping from their tablets. So adopting the right technology to make sure that if you open up your smartphone and you hit somebody's website, if the print's super small and you really can't get to it and you're making it bigger font on your phone and you really can't shop from there, having your network set up so that it can read all those different hits and how you're getting your product to your customers is just as important. So that first one says that at customer feel, is that what that says? That free shipping is important. So they're saying that 4 out of 5 customers say that the shipping portion is as important as it can be from a free shipping standpoint. The second one says that 57% of people abandon their carts because they're in the process of shopping. They're shopping on your site, they're shopping on somebody else's site, and wherever they are, that's where they want to be. So it's interesting as you continue to work your way across there. 40% of the people are looking for coupons. Who has SnipSnap app on their phones? Oh, really? You guys got to check that one out. That's kind of cool, man. You could be in a store, pull it right up. You can find the coupon for that store on your phone. They'll scan it right at the register, and away you go. It's pretty awesome. So, go by that one. So we're talking a little bit about the new technology, making the shopping experience in stores more dynamic than it's ever been as well. So, but what you're ultimately trying to do is secure people with the best, from a best pricing standpoint. So they're saying that 24% of people prefer to do the self-checkout, like at food stores, as an example. But there's a variety of different information here, but customers find that having the right technology at the point of purchase is pretty critical. And no matter how they're buying it, they're going to go tell their friends about it. That's what the bottom portion says, that satisfied or dissatisfied customers are going to go tell their customers how they did. Typically, 1/3 are going to go communicate something good happened or something bad happened. So finally, we'll get to the logistics piece. And in the logistics, it's important, and it plays a major role for the customer experience in the pre-purchase, because people aren't going to buy something if it's going to take too long to get there, during the purchasing process, and of course post-purchase. We talked a little bit about that as well. The availability for free or discounted shipping is important, and providing a full range of delivery options is just as critical. Because people say they want something free until they find out it's going to take 8 days to get there, and then they say, maybe not so much. What are my other options that could possibly be out there? So 50% of people said that having a choice at checkout's important. And it's interesting because if you don't give your customers a choice, they'll ultimately usually go somewhere else if it doesn't match up real well with what they're ultimately trying to do. So some of the other information says that 7 days is the typical transit time. 85% of people are okay if it's within 5 days to get to their ultimate point of pickup or point of delivery. And we kind of talked about the returns piece a fair amount, but I wanted to make sure that, unfortunately, it's the last slide, but it's also the one that most people came back to and said, as a result, customers want to have that shipping label in the box 52% of the time. It's just critical that they have an opportunity to get the product back to you, whether it's at your store or back to the business, so they can exchange for something else, different color, didn't match up, whatever the case may be. Okay? How'd I do? Awesome. All right. Hey.